Hi, this is Pastor Dave Gable, and welcome to our Sunday morning sermon for New Year's Eve 2017. Do you have a resolution that you're planning on making for the new year? Well, we'll talk about a couple of ones that are common and why a lot of times they fail. So hopefully this is a great tool for you to succeed or to maybe rethink your resolution altogether.
Okay, found a list of like the top 10 resolutions for the new year. I don't know if any of you are in the habit of having New Year's resolutions. I kind of gave up on it a while ago. Okay, they are get organized, help others, learn something new, get out of debt, exercise, more family time, quit smoking, lose weight, quit drinking, enjoy life more. Anybody know what all 10 of those have in common? Besides the fact that they're resolutions and are on colorful Post-it notes. What they all have in common is that none of them are fun to try to accomplish. None of them are fun to try to accomplish. And you could say that, well, what about spending more family time? If that's something you're trying to do, I'm going to newsflash on that. The reason you don't spend more family time is because when you stop working, you're stressed because you feel like you should be working. I've battled with that like my whole life. So to stop and spend more family time to begin with is not going to be easy. It's going to feel stressful, right? Is it worth the work, though? Yes. It absolutely is. Has anyone ever watched X Games or watched extreme sports of any kind? Yep. I remember when I was in high school, I used to ski, and I used to love hitting jumps and doing crazy things on skis, and I was never really good at it, but I always thought I would look epic flying through the air in total control. But usually when I got in the air, I looked more like I was slipping on ice than I was in total control. I always thought it'd be awesome to be like do a backflip on skis, or the helicopter where you hit the ramp and then you're like you land. You actually land facing this way. Jody's brother Jesse and those brothers used to be good on skis, and I used to do good yard sales. I got to tell you this story. This is funny. So I skied in high school. My brother started skiing a couple years after I did, and the first night I said, I can teach you how to ski, him and his friends. So I took him up on the hill, and I kind of taught him how to ski. So we're at the top of this hill, and he's yelling at me because he doesn't know how to turn or stop. So he decides to teach me a lesson. He's just going to go down the hill. So this hill kind of went like this, like this, like this. And then at the bottom, it kind of went like this and then flattened out. Right in front of the lodge. So you wanted to stop. So he's just like, he said something and he just took off. And so he's going down the hill and he's trying not to go too fast. So he's going faster and faster and faster and faster. And then I see him disappear. And he didn't come out. And then I saw a ski. And then I saw a pole over here. And I used to yell at him because when we went skiing and he would fall, he fell like a bomb went off. It was like, and I swear he would try to throw his poles and gloves up the hill. And then he would expect me to go gather the yard sale. That's what a yard sale is. I just spread it out. He would expect me to go get all of his stuff, right? And as an older brother, you wait for them to go first so that you can help them. And also so that if they fall down, you can get a good head of steam going. And then right before you get there, you carve into the snow and just bury them. That's the other reason why, right? Well, when I watch like mogul skiers in the Olympics, or you watch half pipe, like these guys come flying, and if you've never skied through a half pipe, they're like 13 feet deep. And then these guys are flying like 15, 18 feet out of the pipe and doing like triple back flips with 3 twists and coming down, you realize that you're 18 feet out of the pipe. If you come down slightly too far in and you land on the edge, you're probably going to get hurt. You're probably going to be making that sound like when you can't breathe. And then you're going to fall into the pipe and get hurt more. It's nuts. So here's my question. How do these guys learn this stuff? Yeah, you see videos. There's one where they get going like 60 miles an hour and they just go off these launch ramps going down a hill and do all these flips in the air and land. I'm like, I can't believe this sport hasn't stopped yet because no one died on national television. Because you're like 30 feet in the air. Well, they work up to it. I mean, there are some people who will just first time just hit it because they're nuts. But the ones who have brains start slower and they learn how to do it. So I found a t-shirt picture that I thought is maybe my resolution for this year. This year I resolved to make better bad decisions. More, no, it doesn't mean bad-er, it means better bad, like less bad. Here's the thing, this is a bad resolution, but there is a little bit of truth in it. You know, if you go into the new year like, I'm gonna become an athlete and I'm gonna make $1 million and stop everything that I don't like that I do and be the best dad and husband and employer and all this in the world, I'm going to do that. You're probably not going to do any of it because it's just not realistic, right? Do you guys hear a ring in this? Chip, you don't? Could you hit the uppers? That'll probably take it out. All right. I want to share with you just one very simple piece, okay, from the book of James. This is James chapter 2. It says, "Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. For you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness, and let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing." This verse seems to be suggesting that unless we face trials, we can't be made perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. That it's actually the hard times and working through struggles that is a major part of us, that making us perfect and complete. Are we ever going to be sinless and perfect, obviously, before we go to heaven? No. But if you're going into the new year and there are things you feel like God would like to accomplish in your life or you would like to change in your life, I think we absolutely have to go in eyes wide open and realize that it's not going to be easy. You know, sitting on a couch and eating donuts is easy. Getting in shape is not easy. Working on your marriage is not easy. It's work. Being a better dad or mom is not easy. You know, like when your 5 kids come into the room and one of them's screaming and there's 3 stories as to whose fault it is and you know you should be disciplining someone but you're not really sure who? That's not easy. Am I right? When your husband comes home and you're like ready to die and he's like, "What do you do all day?" That's not easy. When you went to work at 4 o'clock in the morning and you come in and there's nothing to eat and it's 6:30 and your wife says, "Are you going to blow the driveway?" That's not easy. When your snowblower won't run right, that's not easy. I stopped at a guy's house in town this week just to like, "Hey, are you all right?" Because he's a little bit older, he's blowing his driveway out, and the plow had just come by. And this guy is convinced that there's a plow guy that waits for him to plow his driveway out and then comes over and turns a little bit harder into the snowbank and buries him and then goes to him. Somebody's going to die in this town if this guy doesn't get this resolved. overcoming anger is not easy. Overcoming addictions is not easy. But what good happens? What good comes accidentally? You know, professional athletes have given their entire life to taking the fact that they were the best at their sport in their entire town and making that better and better and better till it becomes a career. None of them have gotten there by being lazy. It takes tons of work. But everything in life is that way. My brother lives down in Tennessee, and he has a couple of things that we've talked about over the years that have kind of stuck with me, and one of them is a bit challenging. And the basic line is that people pray all the time that God would bless them, but nobody is prepared for what the blessing comes as. And basically what he's saying is, when it comes to work and a job, there are people who will pray for a better job, but when they're put in a place that stretches them to be something better, they pray that God would relieve their stress and that God would rescue them from the situation, that he's actually, the situation they're praying to go away is the beginning of him blessing their life. What they're praying for is easy, not blessing. You understand what I mean? We have a huge national debt in our country. The government could tax us all $1,000 this year just to go against the national debt, and that would be good for the national debt, but it wouldn't feel nice. It wouldn't be fun, and you know what would happen? Everybody would get voted out of office for doing that, right? But our human nature is that type of thing. We don't want to see hardship. We don't want to see trial. But we all want the $100,000 a year job. We don't want to go to school or learn a trade or anything, but we want to get paid a lot, right? So coming into the new year, I want us as a family to just have the mindset of God has blessing in store for me. And that might really stink. You know? It might just not be fun, and it might not be great. And there's going to be moments where you're like, what is he doing? Like, I want to run away from this. This is not good. But he is making something beautiful on purpose. He knows how you're wired. He knows what you need in order to grow. Years and years and years ago, Sarah's really close friend, Leah, her cousin Kevin and I were walking along the street by their house in Cheektowaga and talking about ministry, and he had done ministry work as well. And he said two words that have like haunted me for years, and it was simply embrace weakness. And that is not how our human nature works at all. We don't want to be in those spots where we embrace weakness. But I can tell you, like, as your pastor, there have been so many times when I've been sitting in the office over here working, and Jim and we're working, and Jim has said to me, hey, there's enough to cover all of our bills and we get paid this week. And like, we are thankful that he is supplying every need. And there was I remember one time where Jim's like, I'm going to hold off on paying this bill. And I said, is the money there to pay the bill? And he said, yeah, but it's kind of tight. I want to wait. I'll wait a couple weeks to pay it. And I said, here's the deal. If the money is there, pay the bill. Because what we unwittingly say at times is, I'm going to wait because the money's here now, but I don't know if the money will be here in 2 weeks. But what are you saying there? You know, sometimes we try to grab hold of the situation and move it and change it because we don't just trust him to supply when it's needed. Now, there's a difference between being foolish and spending on things you don't need and being wise. That's obviously not where I'm going. And don't just spend whatever you want. He'll supply the need is not what I'm saying at all. But when a need is there, he will make a way for that to happen. There have been times when in my own personal finances, I wasn't going to have what I needed. And in those times, I can tell you, he supplies. Those are the times when there's extra. When there's not enough, those tend to be the times when there's more than enough. Because you let go of the wheel, and all of a sudden, the lap times come way down because he's driving and he knows the best line to drive and he knows where to go, where to stop, where to get fuel. He's just really good at that. So whatever it is that you're facing, the thing that you'd like to see different in the upcoming year, I challenge you to dream that that does change, whatever it is. But I challenge you to understand that walking into it, there are going to be moments where it seems maybe more impossible than it ever has. But that in those times, this verse is faithful. The word of God is true. Count it all joy when you come into that spot where that thing you'd like to see changed seems insurmountable or like it isn't going to happen. You're praying for your finances to be better. And January 3rd, your furnace takes a dive or whatever it is. In that spot, this verse says, look to him and understand that he just put you into a class. And when it's done, you're going to be 3 credits closer to the degree. Having school paid for is a blessing. But being at school with that professor that's hard to understand, who scores a no curve, that's not fun. But you are headed toward what you asked for, right? Count it all joy, my brothers, when you meet trials of various kinds. The various kinds part means there's going to be something that comes up that feels to you like, that's not what Dave was talking about. This is way worse. This is not the same. It's the same. Okay? Trials of various kinds, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. And let steadfastness have its full effect, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking in nothing. Do you want to be less battered around by good times, bad times? Have more of a level head in things? I do. Do you want to have more peace and less stress? Do you want to have less of the stress that keeps you at work and more of the joy that lets you go home? I want that. I want to live in a place where I just know he's in control because there's more peace there. And there's longer life there because no peace means stress, means not healthy, on and on and on, right?
As we wrap up another sermon, I hope, again, that this time has been encouraging and challenging to you. You know, I think half the time our problem is that we really just don't see the game for what it is. We don't see life and our circumstance for what it is and where the answer is, and sometimes even where the problem is. So I hope this has helped you to see things a little bit more clearly. And as always, you can find us on Facebook by simply searching Gowanda Assembly of God. I hope you have a super week, and I hope we see you back here again soon.